Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. The New York Taxi Workers Alliance was founded in 1998. Now, 20 years later, it's an 18,000-member union that strives to better the lives of over 50,000 licensed men and women from every community and garage in the city. Biju Mathew is a professor, an author, and a co-founder of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. He wrote a book called Taxi, Cabs, and Capitalism in New York City. And he's been a remarkable leader of this remarkable group. And I remember 20 years ago, it was just 20 years ago, wasn't it? 1998,
That's
with the taxi strike.
That's right.
And
May 13th. We're
yeah.
just about coming to the anniversary of it. Yes.
And you and Bearvey, did you just go around and distribute all these things to drivers?
Bearvey, me, the entire organizing committee. The whole crew, we mobilized for that strike in less than 13 days.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you all get together?
The taxi industry had been deregulated in the late 70s, early 80s, and leasing had been brought in, and since then it had been a precipitous fall for taxi drivers in the city, and there literally was no organization that was struggling along with the taxi drivers to build a new organization, etc. And so we started out actually doing the organizing work in 1996 on the ground, and we became an organization formally in 98. But yeah, so it was just serendipitous in many ways as to how the whole group of us met. Bearvey was just coming into the taxi industry at that point, so was I.
She had done some work in domestic violence?
Yeah, her early South Asian Domestic Workers Center. And from there, she came into this, and I remember it was, I think, her second or third day on a job with a nonprofit that was starting out an advocacy program around taxi drivers. And I walked in there, we met, and lots of other people.
It basically also had a connection to the increasing immigrant community.
Absolutely. So, as I said, once leasing came in, the entire workforce changed. And it changed partially because the terms of work changed, but it also changed because the early 80s is also when you begin to see a new wave of immigrants from, quote unquote, the third world beginning to come to the United States. And so both of those factors intersected, and the entire workforce began to change rapidly in the 80s. And so by the mid-90s, the taxi industry was already almost entirely immigrant. I would say about 95% immigrant by then.
Yeah. How many of your members own the taxis? Do you know?
Right now?
In New York City, yeah.
Yeah, the total number of, there's a difference between owning the medallion and owning the vehicle, right? So there are three different ways you can
owning the medallion and owning
the vehicle itself, the taxi, the actual physical automobile.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a difference between the two, in the sense that
I see. You can rent the medallion.
You can rent the medallion, put it on your own quote unquote car in terms of.
Is that what we call a licensed?
That's what you call a DUV, a driver-owned vehicle.
Driver.
So I could be a driver. I could go to a garage every evening and pick up a taxi. Then I'm a regular lease driver at a garage. Or I could be a DUV, wherein I own my own vehicle and put a medallion on it that I'm leasing. Or I could be owning my own medallion and have my own car. The latter, the last of the categories, is about a little more than 2,000 drivers, 3,000 drivers in New York City right now. And many, many of them are the ones who are closest to foreclosure. Closest, they're on the brink of things because of what's happening.
I looked at a list under the Taxi and Limousine Commission, and you just see, on sales, I guess, or something, and you see bankruptcy, foreclosure. It's just one after another. Taxi cab industry is totally upside down.
It's on the brink, yes. It is.
But isn't it recognized as a major source of transportation in the city?
It is. Taxi drivers, if you take the entire for-hire vehicle sector, which includes yellow taxis, green taxis, livery, black car, all of it put together, we serve close to about 1 million passengers in a day. And the interesting thing there is that yellows are only 13,500 of them, but they serve almost half of that million. Yellows still serve about 400,000 to 500,000 passengers on a daily basis. So yellows are the most significant, the most important part of the public transport infrastructure of the city.
And the need increases as the infrastructure of subways and buses are in such terrible conditions.
Terrible shape.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yellow taxis have been the one form of for-hire vehicle in the industry that has been giving money to the MTA for the since 2009, for 9 years at this point, right?
A lot of money.
50 cents on every single fare, and a big chunk of the sales tax that comes from the leasing.
Right. Is it like $4.75, $4.75?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's what goes into the MTA budget.
Is that a month or a day or what?
No, on every lease transaction, on every single leasing transaction. So approximately 10,000 taxis being leased twice in a day and a night shift. That's one way of thinking about it. So every single day you generate an enormous amount of sales tax revenue. But the 50 cents also, if you put both those together, yellow taxis would have given to MTA close to $1 billion in the last 8 or 9 years.
How does the government justify that?
Well, I mean, it's like every single time there's a crisis in the state budget,
they come to the tax.
They come to the taxi industry is just the most easy pickings for them, because the way Albany is structured, you have a lot of people in Albany who don't lose anything, no skin off their nose.
They don't use taxis.
They don't use taxis, their constituents don't use taxis, they are from all across the state, and the taxi industry is the easiest picking.
It also affects riders.
Absolutely.
I mean, now a taxi ride is so much more expensive. So I pay more money, and unfortunately, I think the driver gets less tips.
Yeah, no, and that's just going to snowball out into a new crisis in a few months from now, when January 2019 rolls along, and the new congestion price.
I think that's outrageous. The new congestion pricing thing is that it's going to start with taxis and all kinds of vehicles for hire, right?
Yeah, all the FHVs.
And the price is going to go what, from $2 to
$5?
$5.
Yeah.
Additional on each taxi ride.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Below 96th Street.
But how can that be?
Yeah, it defies all logic. I've spent the last 25 days trying to get to the bottom of what the logic is.
It's the same thing that you were talking about before. It's non-city legislators trying to put some money into the budget for something they don't really care about anyway, the MTA, unless they're suburban legislators.
And that's one fact. And then you have somebody like Governor Cuomo, who seems to only listen to Wall Street. I mean, this whole thing, think about it. What is the logic? The logic is that, what is this? This is a tax that says, bring your private cars into the city, please. Shovel them onto the streets. That's what it seems like, because taxis would be the automatic alternative if you're trying to discourage people from bringing their cars into the city.
Well, that's supposed to be the next stage, right? They're supposed to then charge cars $6 or $8 to come in below 96th Street. Right?
If this was supposed to be a logical move, it would have been flipped.
Right.
You would have started with the former, and then said, let's see how it works in terms of how many more passengers get into the subway.
But they couldn't do that because of the representatives from the other boroughs other than Manhattan.
Yeah, and frankly, it's like, the way it's working is that, the taxi industry is already in crisis, drivers are up against foreclosure, the number of passengers are going to come down, the tips are going to go down, and at the other end, Uber and Lyft and the TNCs, that sector, they are backed by venture capital. So they have a pool of money that they can dip into and go. So this is, in my opinion, frankly, if you don't understand the logic for this, I think you need to look no further than, I think, Cuomo's history with Uber and Lyft. I think this is a way to hasten, if possible, that's what I think the plan is, the end of the taxi industry. And I think, what they don't realize is that it's not over. The fight is still on. It's not going to go away that easily.
Now, when you started, what was the medallion worth?
1998, 97, 98, the medallion was worth, if I remember right, around $200,000 or a little less, about $150,000 to $200,000.
And then it went up?
And then kept going up. By the time the 2000s came, it was already past $300,000. And then it went up all the way to a little more than $1 million in 2012, 2013, and that's when Uber and Lyft came in and the collapse began.
Now, Uber and Lyft are called for hire vehicles?
So Uber and
FHV.
FHVs, right? So Uber and Lyft came in to New York City using a particular loophole, and the loophole is that the least regulated part of the for-hire vehicle industry is the black car sector, which is primarily a sector that was created in the 80s to serve corporate clients. So the assumption is a very simple one.
To what? To serve the upper class? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the corporate
corporations.
Corporations
right.
and accounts. Like
right.
you'd get paid on accounts. So it's simple. Yellow taxis serve the ordinary New Yorker on the street, so it needs regulation. So it's highly regulated.
And but the other ones didn't pick up passengers on the street.
It had to be
by contract,
by
contract call.
And voucher, and the base would just pay them. And the idea was very simple, that a limousine company could negotiate a rate. Morgan Stanley had enough power to negotiate its own rate, so you didn't need regulation. So that was the idea. And so Uber and Lyft came in through that back door. They don't serve corporate accounts. They're taking the same passengers as taxi drivers or regular taxis. And so the entire industry has been turned on its head by using a certain entry point and then coming up with the situation wherein that's not the clientele you're serving. And instead of what the normal assumption is that the black car sector would serve their corporate clients a lot more than regular taxis. And here, on the other hand, what you're doing is cutting the rates.
And there's no limit on the number of for-hire vehicles.
Exactly.
Or the black car
Uber
sector. And Lyft and those guys.
Yeah.
They can have as many cars as they want.
Because the assumption was that if I was a limousine company and I had only 2 contracts, one with Morgan Stanley and one with something else, I knew the total number of rides I was going to get in a day, so I would only put out that many cars, right? So there was no regulation precisely because you assume that both the parties were powerful enough to negotiate something reasonable and balance it out on demand and supply. Whereas, that entire logic has been, completely destroyed.
So it's you only need a phone or something to call. But
yeah.
How many? And the yellow cabs are limited in the number.
13,500 right now.
13,500.
As against
how many
Uber
do you estimate?
Uber and Lyft?
Yeah.
68,000 is the last number.
60. So that's the reason we have congestive pricing. The congestion, one of the
exactly.
reasons.
One of the reasons. I mean, just go back 4 years, and the total number of for-hire vehicles in the city was just a little more than 50,000. Now it's 100,000. So you've doubled the total number of vehicles that are in the for-hire vehicle sector in the industry, and
And your rates are also regulated and set.
Yeah, we have a meter.
But the rates for these other cars are not.
They are not.
So they do their own congestion pricing, right? They can charge different prices during the day.
The original logic was that they had something called surge pricing, where they would push the fare up during rush hour, but that turned out to be extremely unpopular with the passengers. So now what Uber and Lyft do is something called upfront pricing. So let's say you use the Uber app and you go in and you try and order a ride. It'll ask you for your destination and then give you a figure saying this is how much it's going to cost you. And then it'll advise you that you better take that price because, X, Y, and Z reasons. So you end up taking that price. Now, the rate that they're paying the driver is different from the rate that they're charging the passenger with upfront pricing. They're getting a flat fare out of the passenger, but they're paying the driver a much lower rate, which is the quote-unquote advertised rate. So the double
standard. Are they paying minimum wage?
I mean, the MIT study just came out. What was it, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago?
No, I don't know.
50% of Uber and Lyft drivers make less than their state's minimum wage. 50%.
Well, how can that be? How does that happen?
That happens because precisely, I mean, it's like, New York City, Uber rates are supposed to be $1.75 a mile, etc. And so, you put more and more taxis in the street, how many fares are you going to actually get? I mean, the number of fares that a yellow taxi driver gets, an Uber driver gets, a full-time Uber driver gets, all of it is plummeting. The more cars you put on the street, the less fares. The pie is not expanding.
Right, they can't, yeah.
The pie is not expanding. So it's a race to the bottom. What you're doing essentially is forcing not just yellow, not just green, not just livery, but Uber drivers, full-time Uber drivers itself, into a race to the bottom. That is what this is about.
It's really an exploitation, isn't it?
It is.
of the drivers? I mean, they can, if they don't have their own car, they can be financed to lease. Is that right? And then they land up owing money.
That's right. I mean, the number of Uber drivers who tell us saying that they're desperate to get out of the industry, because when you sign on with Uber, there's a period when there are lots of incentives. You get bonuses, this, that, etc. You're quote unquote assured a certain income, and everything looks so hunky-dory and rosy for the first few months. And then once you're off the bonus period, that's it. Your income just precipitously falls. I mean, one of our organizing committee members, Lal Singh, just wrote an op-ed in the Daily News a couple of weeks ago, and he drives a yellow, his wife drives Uber. And they barely have any time in their life because both incomes have plummeted completely. Lal Singh is an owner driver. He owns his medallion. And it's a medallion that he was depending on to retire. He's in his 60s.
And how much did he pay for the medallion?
I don't remember the exact amount that he paid.
And he had to have a mortgage. It's like a mortgage. He had to borrow.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's paying that off.
Yeah.
And everything else.
And his wife was forced to start driving Uber. And now both of their incomes have collapsed. And he does, 11-hour, 12-hour, 13-hour days, and she tries to do the same, and they're trying to stay afloat. So, I mean, for the Taxi Workers Alliance, we are very clear that this is a race to the bottom induced by Wall Street on ordinary working men and women, and both sectors are feeling really being forced into this race. And that's why we've built a unity platform between full-time Uber drivers and taxi drivers and all other for-hire vehicle sector drivers. We have, the number you gave, 18,000 odd members, over 5,000 of them are Uber drivers right now. Right? So yellow drivers and Uber drivers in our general meetings sit down together and talk to each other, and they figured out a common platform, they figured out a unity platform, and that's what we're pushing forward with the City Council right now. Our demands are very clear. Put a cap on the total number of cars. It's over 100,000 now. Put a cap on it, and then over the next few years, bring the number down to a reasonable number that will allow taxi drivers and Uber drivers and every other driver in the for-hire vehicle sector to make a reasonable living wage. How do you do that? You can't just do that by just capping the number of cars. You also have to ensure there's a floor below which nobody can charge. And so we are pushing our demand is very simple: make the taxi meter the floor. And number 3, get rid of this ridiculous congestion pricing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We really have to search for the logic behind this congestion pricing. Where is it?
And the Uber drivers are not only Uber drivers, they drive for other companies.
Yeah.
They'll drive for Lyft, for Uber, there are other companies.
Juno, Via. So, Uber drivers may have started out as just Uber drivers because there was enough business on that platform.
But now they're losing business too, so they have to go.
So you have one driver, you asked me earlier about are they making more than minimum wage? So you have one driver now driving on Lyft, on Uber, on Juno, etc. And now, if you want to count the hours to calculate minimum wage, Uber's position is, you can only count the time when they're doing a ride. Why? Because, of course, if you're not getting a ride on an app, it could be because of the other apps, in the sense that, they force drivers into a situation where they have to be on multiple platforms and then say, we can't be held responsible.
Are the drivers licensed the same way yellow cab drivers are?
Yeah, so that's the other big change that happened in the industry over the last few years. There used to be earlier a hack license for yellow taxi drivers and a different for-hire vehicle license for the remainder of the for-hire vehicle sector. But over the last few years, that's one of the things that we worked on with the city. There's now one universal license for all for-hire vehicle drivers.
And do they still give a test to drivers about their knowledge of the city?
Yeah, there is.
Are you allowed to take in your computer so you could?
No.
There are more drivers who don't know where they're driving, right?
Yeah, in the sense that.
Not yellow cabs, I don't think.
Yellow cab certainly not. They are the veterans in this, right?
Yeah.
But if you, the other statistic is that over 50% of Uber drivers leave Uber within 6 months. They have in some parts of the country, they have a turnover rate of 94% in a year, right? So you can imagine you put more and more inexperienced folks onto the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, and no data to kind of check any of this, because all of the data suddenly has now become privatized. Oh, we're not going to release the data. Why? It's our business data. I want to know how many accidents are happening. Right? I want to know what I mean. I want to know, why congestion is happening in the wake. Apart beyond the 100,000 cars on the streets, and beyond the beginning of beyond the collapse of the MTA infrastructure, and people bringing in private cars, etc. Beyond all that, I want to know how congestion happens. In the sense, who's sitting in what lane for how long, right? Because they don't even know where they're going, right? So, I mean, there's a lot in all that, and I really think that, one of our demands, again, is now we are going in with a full comprehensive plan to the city. One of our demands is that a driver should be allowed to drive only for one app, because then you can hold that app accountable, right? What are you doing to your workers? That's the basic question.
Do all cars have the same insurance coverage?
Of course not. I mean, the yellow taxis have a much higher insurance rate than the other sectors.
If you're a leased taxi driver, do you have to pay the insurance, or does the
No,
owner?
if you're a leased driver, then the medallion owner, the garage will pay. But if you're an owner driver, of course you pay your own.
And what are the medallion owners doing?
I mean,
don't they foresee? I mean, they're in trouble also, right?
I mean, just look at the situation,
Yeah.
Ronnie. We've had 4 suicides in the last 4 months. 4 drivers have taken their lives. I mean, they're not all yellow. The last one was Nicanor, was a yellow cab driver, a veteran owner driver. I mean, we at the office now, are on alert, sending drivers referring them to suicide prevention, to mental health services, etc. I mean, what is the governor's plan? How do you claim to be a governor who announces a minimum wage increase and then works so systematically at trying to destroy the lives of 100,000 workers?
What does the Taxi and Limousine Commission do? Have they taken a position on this?
The Taxi and Limousine Commission, to be fair to them, have always been interested in finding ways of regulating this. I mean, so if you remember, 3 summers ago was the first talk of a cap. De Blasio and the Taxi Commission were behind it. We wanted to go for a cap. It was going to be a temporary cap. Till we figured out congestion, till we figured out all that, put into place a very detailed and rigorous study and come out with solutions at the end of it. It was supposed to be a 2-year study during which there would be a cap on the number of cars being put, because you had to control for that. Otherwise, the study would be meaningless. Okay.
I wanted to say that the AFL CIO gave you a charter.
So the AFL CIO, we became the 57th national union of the AFL CIO at the end of 2011. It is the first non-traditional workforce, that is, quote-unquote, independent contractor workers, who became part of the AFL with the national union. And now we have 6 other affiliates across the country: Philadelphia, a couple of counties outside Washington, D.C., Austin, Texas, San Francisco, and Los Angeles.
So in a time when we worry about unions, you're a prime example of great success so far.
Yeah, I mean, we are a union. We are a union that has been built up from the grassroots itself, and I mean, what we achieved from the time when we were in regular conversation with you, Ronnie, when you were part of the city council, to today is between 1998 and 2012, we managed to bring in a particular kind of a redefined idea of collective bargaining into the taxi industry for independent contractors, right?
So essentially, I have to go like that, right?
Yeah. And you were part of that. The first legislation around PVP and CDP, the Critical Driver Program, we created rule by rule, over that 10-year period, we created a situation wherein the fare, the metered fare, and the lease were completely connected, and numbers had to be produced about every single part of it. And that's when a meter would go up, and that's when a lease cap would be put into place, so that you ensure that taxi drivers are taking home a significant part of the revenue increase. And that happened at a frequency with the city. It was akin to a collective bargaining agreement. So we created a framework for collective bargaining for hire vehicle drivers in the city. And that was the single greatest success. If you could think about the union movement back into the 1920s, struggling all the way into the mid-30s to create collective bargaining as a floor, as a firm floor to stand on. We had created that in the taxi industry.
That's so good. We were at the end, Professor. Thank you so much.
No, not at all.
I
Thank
hope
you so
we've
much.
really brought this issue to the public.
I hope so too.
And I hope they will then do something.
Yeah,
to
we want every
government.
New Yorker to
Right.
step into this fight, because I really think that's
It's so important.
That's so
Yeah.
important to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Biju. If there are any people you'd like to hear or topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. Or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.